Everyone, and thanks for joining us right here on Midday, Kentucky on this rainy day. And a little bit cold, but I'm not unhappy about the cold.
Yeah, I kind of like it. Yeah, it was a gorgeous weekend, so it's nice for a relaxing
I didn't see much
day.
of it.
Yeah.
You were out at a...
Oh, I was out and about.
I saw you sunbaking.
Yes, I was somewhat sunbaking. And I was also at a wedding, too.
Oh, you
a couple
were?
of our friends got married. And I actually Skyped Doug during the ceremony so he could see the ceremony when they were
awesome.
giving their vows and everything.
Oh, so he's not busy over there, obviously? He's got time to be listening to your Skype?
Well, at 3 o'clock here, it's actually
Talk about call out.
10 o'clock at night for him. So.
Okay. Well,
I got you.
fun.
What'd you do?
Nothing really. Finished House of Cards, of course. It was fabulous,
Are you ready
right?
for this?
You finished all 13
I
episodes,
watched
too.
13 episodes
Did you
of
really?
House of Saturday night. I sort of got home Saturday afternoon after doing some chores. It was probably like 4:30 or something.
Yeah.
2 a.m.
Yeah.
I got up off the lounge and I thought, this is ridiculous. I can't
it's
believe
so
I just
good.
watched
Oh.
as much as I did.
was
And then
fun.
Sunday afternoon, I wanted to start every Sunday going on the trails. Apparently there's so many trails around here.
Oh, yeah. gorgeous.
And then, silly me, had my haircut booked in the middle of the day, which I know I had that, but then it's too hot to go walking in the afternoon on the big trails. So I watched the last 2 episodes.
Yeah, I was going to say, what were
House
you
of
really
Cards.
That was a
That's
convenient
really what I did
excuse.
the last 2 episodes. Really interesting. You've got to watch it if you've got Netflix, but don't do what we did.
Do
'Cause
it,
I
do
texted
it.
you and
He
said,
won't be able to get
did you
away."
enjoy House of Cards? And you went, I need to get a life. I said, yes, you do.
And then
But
you
even
finished
till
all
I
of them, like,
I didn't
hours
want
later.
to tell her that I was watching it as well. Hey, anyway, you ready to get the ball rolling? Apparently, Daddy's little girl isn't just the cliche that will never die. Dads actually parent their toddler daughters differently than their toddler son. Now, according to a new study published in Behavioral Neuroscience, and fathers with daughters are more attentive to their daughters than dads with sons. You ready for this? Dads with daughters not only sang more to their girls than dads with sons, but they also spoke more about emotions like sadness. Now that's why the notion comes up that men should be less emotional than women. How? Now, you've got 2 boys.
I do.
You've got a couple of brothers.
Okay,
haven't
yes.
you?
I was going to say, do I have
No.
a daughter?
Do you feel that you got more favoured, you and your sister, from your dad?
Definitely from my
And
dad.
still to this day, do you think?
To this day, yes.
To this day.
To this day.
How do
But
you-
my mom drastically favors my brothers.
Really? Interesting.
That's exactly the same in my family, too.
Yeah.
Really?
My father, I was Daddy's little girl. I was the only girl, so he had 3 sons, and I was the youngest. So yeah, I totally was spoiled. But but my brothers, my mother was much more, I think, attentive, especially the middle brother.
Okay, well, this is what I also thought. If the child cries out or asks for dad, fathers of daughters respond to that more than did fathers of sons. Interesting, huh?
Yeah.
Even the words fathers used to speak to their daughters were different than ones used to speak to their sons. For example, dads talk to their sons with words that focus on achievement, like win, proud, and top. Now, with girls, on the other hand, they use words like more detailed oriented, like all or much.
Huh, that's
I
interesting.
don't know.
Interesting.
My dad
Instead of
still.
go on.
Sorry, my dad still to this day calls me Katie Sweetie and Pumpkin and all those things, and he would never call my brother any of those things, like.
Okay.
So I
It's
just think
true,
still
yeah.
to this day, dads do talk to their daughters different than their sons. You wouldn't call your grown man son, oh sweetie, but you'd say that to your daughter.
exactly.
You know?
Well,
It's funny because my parents weren't those type of people. And quite strange that my mother and father, well, my mother's since passed last year, but my mother and father would call me boy. And I know that's a bad terminology here in America, but in Australia, it's like, just the
Son,
norm.
boy.
Well, I guess it's a bit like the sun, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not anything. My sister's called me prawn head, but anyway, that's another whole different story for a different day.
Okay.
But my uncles, it's funny you say that, my uncles on my father's side still call their sons, they've got 2 older boys, and it came into my mind when I was reading this, he calls his sons darling and, my boy and things like that. So I think it depends on how you've been brought up and also in what culture. If there's a European culture in your family. I think, yes, of course, the daughters do get favoured a little bit more in European culture, but the boys are the man of the house. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I do.
I think it depends on the way you were brought up.
Yeah, and Doug is very good with speaking emotions with the boys and allowing them to express themselves emotionally.
I think it's important.
I think it is too, and he does too. And
Yeah.
But yet he also counters it with the feeling proud and getting those words and terminology with them as well. So it's interesting. He has a really good balance. I'm glad you brought this.
Yeah,
to
I
you.
liked it. I liked
I
it.
think
more
that
aware
people,
of it.
even if you do speak to your children differently, you can still treat them the same. Because I would say my dad speaks to me and my sister differently than my brothers,
But he
but
does
he
treat you.
treats us all the same. He may just speak to me in a little bit more of
Well,
like
that's
a
what it's
babyin
about. It's
way.
more about the
Yeah, so
language.
it's not treating them
Yeah.
differently. It's just
Yeah.
sort of the language you choose.
Well, it's
So-
funny because my mother was a little bit naughty, and
Same.
I do. My sister said to me many years later that she was sorry for the way we got, she put we got treated, and I went, I don't sort of remember you ever getting in trouble. I was like, okay, but I was a horrid child, let me tell you. Yeah, I was a bit naughty. Katie, this is it's quite interesting what you've brought up about kids on a
Putting your
leash.
kids on a leash. We know that this
It
is,
has been talked about
Yeah,
before.
this has been around for a while, the concept of putting your kids on a leash. It's now kind of going viral again where this
Just by
daddy
saying it
blog. Yeah,
sounds
it just
awful.
sounds like, ugh. The connotation of it is just terrible. But this daddy blogger out in Oregon posted a picture of his daughter on this leash, and he says he's doing it because he loves her. And it's just sort of got this conversation going again of, is it ever appropriate to put your kids on a leash? And he's talking about in these really busy areas. He said they got one when they were first going to Disney World. Or what about, if you're going to Kings Island or one of these theme
Yeah.
parks. So not just, every day I go to the grocery store is not what we're talking about. But do you think it's ever appropriate to put a child on a leash? I guess, Lisa, I asked you that first. Having kids, could you imagine any scenario where you do that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
would.
really?
And,
Really?
Yeah, and the thing is,
Because you've got two boys.
I do. I have two boys.
And how old are they again?
12 and 8. But
Okay.
they had the leash back then. They had the monkey backpack with the tail that was the leash part.
Oh, that's
Oh,
cute.
so you-
Yeah,
okay.
so that's what I used with Harrison. With Jackson, I really didn't need it. I received it as a gift for him, and I never used it for him. He didn't run. But Harrison was more, he seemed to be the type that would kind of run in crowds. So I had him on the leash, but quite honestly, when I put the leash on him, he didn't like it. And I was like, he was like, I don't want it. And I said, okay, then you have to stay by me, or I have to put this on you. And he would stay by me. He did not
Okay.
like the leash. So it actually helped keep him closer to me. So I never really used it that much.
I think, sometimes I have a different experience with the leash. Like I used, a lot of, yeah. Keep it clean, dear.
Don't say anything.
Okay, a lot of my friends back in Utah have children, of course, and I used to ski every weekend. So on weekends, as toddlers, 3 or 4 or 5, they would ski with you, but you'd put them on these big leashes and they
Right.
would ski down the mountain. It was also a little bit for training, but it was also so we could keep them with
Right,
us.
right.
Do you know what I mean? Because they would just fly off. And you would race down the mountain trying to
Right.
keep up with them, and you'd pray that they wouldn't fall over.
Well, and again, it's a safety issue.
It is a
you know?
safety
So
issue.
both, even though one's on the ski slopes and one's in the mall or
I
wherever,
know.
it's still a
but
safety issue.
I would be, say things. If you're not good, I'm going to tie you up to a tree. Do you know what I mean? Like, no chili fries for you.
Okay, so you both think maybe it's okay in certain scenarios, but do you think that maybe is it appropriate then for day-to-day use, do you think, Lisa?
No, absolutely
okay.
not.
No,
Nope,
no.
I don't.
I
I mean,
think-
they have to learn. They have to learn their boundaries.
Okay.
And you have to, and keeping them on a leash is not going to.
And also,
teach
what
them their
age do you
boundaries.
take them off the leash? Do they say?
No,
4 or
well,
5?
No, it doesn't say. This was just the daddy blogger. He got a lot of
Yeah.
outrage for posting that photo and kind of asking what would be the age. And then you'd have to wonder the psyche of being
Yeah.
kept on a leash.
Yeah.
So maybe just calling it a harness or something like this makes sense to me. If you have a really small child, or like what you brought up, Lisa, the backpack that has the extension from it in these crowded environments. But I would
Right.
think
Well,
very
this
young
picture
age
right
only.
here, it looks like they're out in the out in a park or
And
something.
with water around
I
them.
mean, you know, I mean, yeah, maybe the water, but it looks like it's from
Yeah.
a distance. I kind of feel like they don't need to be on a leash in this scenario.
Do you remember
But-
do you remember the show Modern Family? How they were at Disneyland, and Cam and can't remember his name had little Lily on a leash.
Oh, yeah.
And then the father came in and said, "Get rid of the leash. Put her in a pair of little Barbie high heels." She didn't run anywhere. She could hardly. It was perfect.
Just clomped around
It
the
was
Aw.
very, very funny.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about Alzheimer's protection. And, you know, what have you got? Some new
Yeah.
study coming out?
Yeah, this is a study that was done, and it's really interesting. They looked at using transfusions of blood, of younger people's blood in older people. And what they found, and this was done by a company called Ambrosia, and it's a startup firm based out of San Francisco. But what they did, they had 70 participants, and all the participants had to pay $8,000 to be a part of this study. And all of the participants were 35 years or older, and they were given plasma as a transfusion from younger folks that were between the age of 16 and 25. What they found was that there was improvements in biomarkers of various different major diseases. In cholesterol, for instance, they saw a 10% drop
From
in
16 to
cholesterol.
25-year-olds.
16 to 25-year-olds. That's where the blood came from, the younger blood.
Oh, so it's not your own.
They infused younger blood into older participants.
I love
Wow.
that.
And so, and what
course
they
you do.
and
Line
listen-
up, people.
I know. I mean, seriously. And listen to
is
this:
awesome.
10% drop in cholesterol levels, which again, that affects has effects on your heart as far as heart disease. 20% drop in carcinoembryonic antigens.
I'm
which
glad
is-
you
which is
wrote
a
that
part-
out.
which is a part of cancer. A lot of cancer
Wow.
patients have high levels of that. So it had a 20% reduction in that. Also a 20% reduction in amyloid protein levels, which amyloid proteins form toxic clumps in the brain of dementia patients. And so they saw a 20% drop in that as well.
So is this available to be, or is this just tests?
Well, it was done.
Listen to me, I'm already
I mean,
phone call.
this was a study. What they did say was this was a study, and
Ah.
the participants did have to pay to be a part of the study. Now, I don't know at this point if it's already being used by individuals
It's
to
funny
actually
you say that, you know,
do that.
because I've often thought to myself, I wonder if you could go to a clinic and have half of your blood drained out
Mm-hmm.
and make sure you have the right blood cells from someone who's 15 or 18 or whatever, put back into you, and it will rejuvenate everything. I often think about that.
That's
Sounds
what
like
they're
it.
finding. That was the myth all along, and
Yeah,
so
it's
this
interesting.
company is actually they are actually proving this.
Would you
to
do
be-
it?
You know what? I can't say that I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Keep it there, sister.
Yeah, I
I'd
totally
do it.
would, yeah.
Yeah, totally. Hey, listen, I'm up for anything that's going to bring back the 17-year-old face.
Yeah, I know, right?
Agree?
Well, and it's not only the looks too. They looked at
Hey,
Alzheimer's
I have
patients.
heart conditions in my family,
Yeah.
high cholesterol, high blood pressure. You know, I just found out last week my father's got, you know, colon cancer. Like, you know, those issues come into life.
Right.
And if you can have a simple transfusion of blood to help you, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, that's
They
cool.
had a Alzheimer's patient, an early onset Alzheimer's patient. He was 55 years old, and they saw significant improvements in his symptoms of Alzheimer's. And they also had another Alzheimer's patient that was older, same benefits. They saw the same results in that patient as well. Within a month, they started seeing it.
Wow, just one month?
Within 1 month. What they recommend are 2 transfusions a year with that. So.
You know what? I just think about, like, I know $8,000 seems like a lot of money straight away,
Right.
but I also think to myself, what does it cost later in life?
Yeah.
You know, when you have these health conditions, and you know, we're blessed in Australia where healthcare is free, and my father's going to have an operation. Obviously,
Yeah.
his colonoscopy is free of charge, but now it looks like he's going to seriously need the operation. Colon cancer, you know, in America, goodness knows what that will cost
yeah.
to have done.
Yeah.
You know, it's absolutely crazy. So
Yeah.
keep on that.
Yeah, I will. I will.
If all of a sudden you see us looking glowing, you know we've had a transfusion.
Right. From our interns.
I like that. Oh, yeah, let's just Well, we've got to make sure they're the bright ones.
Okay.
You know, we've got to get. I want to be more intelligent. I want to be running faster.
Okay.
So it's now just turned into a whole new aspect of infusions. Hey, after the break, everyone, Jackie Howard of Alliance Medical and Home Care will sit down with me and talk about when is the right time that someone should seek home care. Back after this short break, everyone.